Alright, now we're going to be talking about Adam and Eve, alright? So, let's look at this from energy. These are energy dynamics, alright? The story of Adam and Eve. So, Adam and Eve. And this is an esoteric lesson, so look at it how you want to look at it. You can look at it from a biblical point of view or not. But it's all about energy, alright? So, Adam will represent masculine energy. Eve will represent feminine energy. Alright? And we also got Lilith. We're gonna get into Lilith after that. So Lilith came before Eve. But for now, we're just gonna talk about Adam and Eve. So and we also have the serpent. Remember, it was the serpent who spoke to Eve. So let's put the serpent down here. The serpent. Now, we know from biblical narrative, they always label the serpent as the bad guy. The serpent was evil, alright? Now, we also know that in every other religion, serpents represent a form of intelligence, okay? So, Adam and Eve were told by the Lord, let's say the Lord, this is going for the Bible, let's say that the Lord equals the law. Lord equals law, alright? So, the Lord told Adam and Eve not to eat of the tree. The tree of good and evil. Now, why would the Lord tell Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree of good and evil? Because the Lord knew something that Adam and Eve didn't know. The Lord knew that if Adam and Eve had this much intelligence, that they would have to go through some things, and that would automatically push them out of the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. Now, what I want y'all to understand is that the Lord is actually the guardian of Eden. Guardian. The Lord will be the guardian of Eden. Eden will be where your heart chakra is, right? So, you probably don't know this, but Eden will represent your heart, your love. But we're not gonna take it that far. Let's look at it from this point of view, because I don't want to confuse anybody. So let's look at it from this point of view. The Lord will represent your soul, alright? Your soul. Your soul. So, your soul operates from masculine and feminine energy. Okay? So, what happened was Eve was told by the serpent. Remember, serpents also represent what we like to call Kundalini energy. So let's say that the serpent represents Kundalini energy. Kundalini. So, Kundalini, so if you ever been to a hospital, they got this symbol, right? With a snake going up it. This will represent your Kundalini energy. As your Kundalini rises, it heals you, okay? So this healing is neuroplasticity. The neuroplasticity in your mind. When your mind, and this is also when your frequency rises. So the Kundalini energy at the base of your spine rises and it heals you all the way up to your mind, because it's mind over matter. So therefore, you reach a level of intelligence that heals you eternally. Alright, so the serpent, the Kundalini energy, rose up. Only the feminine, only Eve. Right? So Eve, when she rose up, she forced Adam to rise with her. So because Adam and Eve rose up to the tree, because they rose up to the tree without being guided by the Lord, which represents the soul, because they weren't guided by the soul, this created what we like to call an imbalance. Because they weren't guided by the truth. So when they rose up to the tree of good and evil without being guided by truth, they forced themselves to rise up to the tree of good and evil. So, therefore, they had to go through experiences. They are no longer of the Garden of Eden. Because they know too much and they're capable of too much. This is why they said, once they rose up, they realized that they was naked, so they put on clothes. But they didn't need clothes in the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, you are protected by the Lord. You are protected by your soul. You are protected by God. You are protected by the Son of God. You know what I'm saying? And the Son of God is all about positive truth. So, when you rise up to the tree without being guided by this, with just the serpent alone, with just the Kundalini energy alone, without being guided by positive truth, it can lead to potential consequences, which cause what we like to call imbalance. That means a separation, right, from your heart. And it's true. So it created this, an imbalance between the masculine and feminine energy, which automatically kicked them out of the Garden of Eden, which once they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, which is where your heart lives at, that creates a downfall. So, evil, good. So therefore, because it creates a downfall, now you have access to all these lower vibrational states. These are demonic energies. These are angelic energies up here. Demonic energies, angelic energies. So, although they rose up from being guided now by the serpent, just the Kundalini alone, by their own energy, the energy of the Kundalini, the serpent. So this is what made the serpent bad. This is what made the serpent evil. Because the serpent, when you rise up without being guided by positive truths, once you get to that higher level of, you don't know the difference between good and bad. You get what I'm saying? But so now you are no longer being guided. So this is where they talk about when they say you gotta find your way back home. So they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were now kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So guess what they gotta do? This is all metaphorically speaking. So because they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, now they have to find their way home. And where is home? Home is the Garden of Eden. So how do they find their way home, right? How do they have to find their way home? Masculine and feminine energy, Adam and Eve. They have to follow the truth. But because they know it all, because they seem to know it all,